Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the podcast. Got an episode with a good friend Erik that I met in the golf community, and we're going to talk about technology as well as ladies who are just starting the game. And I think he's got some really good value that you can really check out. So he's over at EJSGolf.com. You can check him out online. But without further ado, here is the episode.
I'd love to kind of start off by just getting your background, like what obviously kind of brought you to here today, but where'd you get your start? Where did it all begin for you golf wise?
Well, so it's kind of interesting. I'll try to make it real quick. So I've grown up in golf my whole life since kid, and you know, I don't know if I'm probably like a lot of people, but I wanted to play professionally. I tried, and at about 20 years old, I started having back problems, and um, it was weird. I got shingles. I don't know if you know what that is, and
For
it was
sure,
right in
like
my lower
chickenpox.
back. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's and I already had chicken pox, so I had shingles, and then it was right in my lower back, and I did, the last 2 weeks, which usually people don't get shingles until like 70. So it was weird that I got it when I was really young. But then ever since that, I had troubles, and I don't know. I went through and I had like 3 surgeries over the next 3 years trying to. I still tried to play. I still tried to do it, and but teaching wise, I had always taught during. I was one of those guys. I don't know that like I was always reading. Like ever since a kid, I had thousands of golf digests, and that's all I had when I was a kid because I'm almost 50. Golf digests and golf, and I would categorize them. So here's where you went for the slice, and then I had it even further categorized by this is what Jack says. Here's what whoever says. This is for the person, whatever. I had it categorized all by and just like thousands. So that's how I learned. And I mean, was I terrible with it? Probably, yeah. Whatever the tip of the week is, what the person got right then. But but it did get better because I started learning more and more about it over the time. So I was one of those guys that I always turned to about it. So yeah, my first love was I wanted to play, but then well, I mean, I just always loved teaching people too because I felt like I just got to help them. So fast forward, I actually my back got so bad I had to get out of golf for a number of years too because I couldn't stand like long enough. I always taught, but I teach 1 to 2 hours a day, and then I did other stuff in business, and then about 3 years ago, I came back into it full time. I had like a major surgery that just made me normal again, fixed me, and I was like, "Geez, so this is the love of my life." So I went back to it. Yeah, thanks. And it's just been awesome. It's been really good for me too because I did stay up for things while I was out, but I didn't own a TrackMan back then. Like when it came out. So I've loved it. These last 3 years have been my favorite years of teaching because I've just dove so hard into the tech and into biomechanics, the physics of it all. And it's been because I'm a very analytical guy anyways. And it was boring back then. I felt like teaching in the sense that like you kind of knew stuff was wrong. Like I'm telling a guy to swing further to the right, and I'm like going, "Oh wow, this is weird. It's hooking even more." Like that can't work, and they're telling me it works, but there's something really wrong with this thing here. So
Hmm.
it's like I think all of us teachers knew there was some weird stuff happening that wasn't right. So now it's just a blast because I feel like I just get to study all the time and I'm learning. I think I've got like I don't know. I just do certification after certification, like Dr. Kwan's stuff I've done. I'm working on 3 in TPI. Got 2 done. Scott Calx's. I've done a bunch of his. I've done. I can't even think of any more. TrackMan certified. All kinds of things. But it's all about learning and getting. I just want to be the best I can be at it. So it's like that stuff is just you got to know it these days. I feel like.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got the fuel for it, and it looks, of course, like you're taking the steps to be able to, go with the times here, which kind of
Yeah.
brings me into the next topic, which is like, what about the technology really helps people nowadays? How have you seen that unfold over the last few years and kind of see where it's going? Because I think you're doing a great job on your website. I do want to touch on a
Thank,
couple things that I've seen recently that I think
thank you.
you're certainly ahead of the curve for. But how have you seen
Thank you.
technology really advance, and how can that really help your average golfer?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, technology has advanced huge. I mean, it's one of the biggest things is like I knew things were wrong back then, and one of the things I've always hated in life is fallacies, old wives' tales, fallacies, like stereotypes. I hate that stuff. It's always bothered me because it's just like stereotypes are usually false. I mean, do they fit maybe a view people as stereotype, yeah, but you're going to classify everybody as that. It's something that's like, it's always bothered me, and just because it's not truth, and it's truth has always been what I've gone after. And I think it's, for me, what helps people now is you're not, and I had to tell people stuff that wasn't truthful back then, but I didn't know it. And so did a lot of people back then. But now people are getting better faster, I believe, because we have the truth. I mean, if you just think about a simple example is this, and I bet probably 1% of people are doing this. What if the guy is, let's say, already has a lot of spin on his driver or something, but he doesn't have a lot of height, right? So he has a 10.5 or something. You go, oh, okay, let's try like a 13. What are you going to do for him? He's still going to have you didn't bring his spin loft down at all. You're still going to have a huge amount of spin on it. You gave him a higher driver. That's terrible. But that's what probably a lot of people are still doing, I guarantee, instead of trying to bring that number down and just fixing it. But now we can bring the spin loft down and fix it, and fix a lot of things at the same time. So I think the challenge is to not, I don't like dumbing down things, saying dumb stuff down to people, but it's figuring out the right words to say. And I think it's just, I try to say, okay, here it is. I'll explain it to them. Here's what I see, blah, 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 blah. You're spinning this, this, and this. Let's focus on this today. Let's get your spin numbers down, or whatever I'm working on. Let's get your club path down, which is at a 7 day. Let's see if you even get it down to a 3. And I'm not going to tell them every million reasons I'm working on that and what it's going to do, but they can see the number and go, oh, wow, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. You don't have to explain every good thing that is happening because of it. And I think, there's just a million examples. Looking at, people are still, I hear coaches still looking at divots and telling somebody they're over the top because their divot's to the left. I'm like going, are you serious? It's possible to have a divot to the left and not be over the top. Mm-hmm. So there's just stuff like that out there. I think students are going to get better if they're hearing the truth. But it impresses me more, the older guys, how they got so good too. Mm-hmm. It just shows the talent they had to get good without the facts, like Jack or any of those guys. And I'm more and more impressed with them. Like the older I get, I'm like, how did they do this?
Yeah, they just got out there and did it, man. And it's impressive. It's really impressive. It shows that commitment, dedication. They weren't going to fail. They weren't. No, and that's why when people today are like, "Oh, Tiger would be way better than Jackson," I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah. Jack would. If you're good in any generation, I think you're like you said, you'll figure out how not to fail. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how good they were with. Really, they didn't have much, and they did it. They figured it out. So they got right to it and just got out there and practiced. With a lot of the technology kind of coming in, and you see a lot more emphasis on these numbers, looking at your spin loft, club head speed, what flex of the shafts and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm sure that has an effect on students, seeing what Bryson's doing with the game. He's bringing a lot of light to that. What do you feel like are some of the challenges that golfers have today, like some of the hurdles that kind of keep them from getting to really where they're capable of playing? Because I know we can get into, and we've kind of used that before in golf, paralysis by analysis. How can they maybe avoid that, or is that something that's really showing up for them? Yeah, it's a great question, because I spend a lot of time just studying like how students learn and stuff like that. And honestly, it's a tough one for me, because I don't love being negative, but I don't know. The student hasn't changed a lot over the years. Okay. And one of the things I hate hearing is you hear certain people say teaching hasn't got any better because the clubs have gotten way better, but the student hasn't gotten better yet. So teaching therefore hasn't got better. How do you figure that one out? But they did, some people. Yeah. But right. It's just students there's not a lot of them that have the drive to go through failure and work through failure and to go through these feedback processes. They quit really quick and are going to go back to their old habits, and that's easier for them. It's been tough for me to figure out, like, why is it, how do you take a really successful businessman, and then he gets to golf and he's just this guy who's like a 12 who plays all the time,
and is unwilling to put in the work, but is still taking lessons. It's like, what are you doing? Why don't you try to get good at this? But it's, they don't have the, I don't know. I get a lot of the people who commit to my 6-month programs. I see them weekly. I tell them they have to do something every single day or they're not going to be part of my program. And the part of the program is I tell them all they have to commit to is 5 minutes a day indoors. Okay. They don't even have to get balls. That's it. And I want them doing really slow motion moves. And you probably wouldn't be surprised, but there's a lot that can't even do that. 5 minutes a day of slow-mo moves. Someone will be like, oh, I'm sorry, Erik, I missed it all week, but yesterday I went and hit balls for 2 hours. I said, well, that's great. That was absolutely worthless, but let's go on and start today. I don't say that.
I'm with you, brother.
But no, I tell them, I'm like, I ask them again, are you sure you want to be part of my program? Because I'm not going to do this if not, because I think part of it for me is I want people to get better. And if they're going to get better, I believe what I've come to the conclusion is they need about 6 months of heavy duty monitoring and feedback sources. It's just walk up and down any range. You don't see anything down on the ground. No one's checking their alignment. And they're like, well, I can hit so good on the range. I can't go to the course. Okay. I mean, it's like, you probably don't hit that great in the range. And then there's reasons. I mean, it's just, you got to do certain things. But I think the problem with students, they're still looking for quick fixes on YouTube. And I mean, YouTube has great people on it, great stuff they're showing, but it's not for most people. I mean, it'd be hard for me to find something on there that would fit me exactly. And then there's some guy who doesn't even know their swing. I in all these years have had yet one person, well, okay, I can say I've had one come to me and tell me what was wrong with their golf swing that was correct. Everybody, oh, my hips aren't doing this.
Yeah, we get it all the time.
Yeah. Well, you mean your 30-yard slice is all on your hips. All right.
Got it. What are you coming to me for?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, so, I mean, it's what, I don't know. The challenge of today, I think the same challenges of the past. But boy, they have so many more resources today. I think there's people who are getting better today, some, but then there's still a lot that are staying in the past, unless they're willing to work at it correctly with proper feedback. I mean, we have the tools today. I tell them what they need to do. I tell them, the block practice is killing you. And then, like I have a guy who will hit 7 irons nonstop. And I tell him, okay, you can't do it anymore. It's not working for you. Okay. And then he goes and plays and shoots a 95. But Erik, look, I was hitting my 7 iron so great all day yesterday. So, well, that's great. Anybody can after a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you just can't, you got to do different practice. So I go, why don't you, I tell them play a course on the range over and over and over. Just keep playing a course that's in your mind. Mm-hmm. But it feels better to hit a 7 iron good, doesn't it? Than to hit some shots that are only 80% as good because you're not used to hitting your 4 iron, but you're going to get better that way. So I think it's the students, I feel like they're just, they're still in this phase of quick fix.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And just adding to that, it's that whole, I always try and take, perfect example you had before was someone who's doing well at business. You have success principles in your business. And then, I even try and break it down more. Like, I'm talking 2.5 minutes a day. I'm talking 3 minutes a day of just, whether we're working on stretching, getting your body in a position where it can make these movements. And I mean, that's it more so becomes, it's not that you have to check the box each day. It's that it becomes a habit of how you do things. And really, like you said, anybody can show up to the range and hit a 7 iron over and over, or hit the same chip shot over and over, and finally hit a good one. And if you're looking for that just immediate confidence, like, sure, it feels good, but that's the last time you're ever going to hit that shot. You're never going to have those circumstances again.
You're not.
It's not the way golf is.
Yeah, I know. So it's I'm glad you do that too. Just some too. It's that habit, which you would think successful people would have an easier time doing because they've obviously had to do it in life. And really successful people, I feel like they're good at doing things. I think like the big difference with people in life, the successful ones and successful people do the things that non-successful people don't want to do. It doesn't mean they're fun. I mean, they just know that I have to do it. I have to get up and work out at 4:30 or whatever it is. It's like, doesn't mean, I can't wait to get up at 4:30 and work out. I can't wait to go do this. It's like, I got to do it though to get where I want. They'll say, or whatever it is, and the successful, they won't do it. So it's interesting that it doesn't transfer to that. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a whole, we're, as human beings, I always try and bring the human condition, is what I call it, into golf. It's like,
yeah,
we have to work with this just as much as the mechanics and the,
yeah,
everything that's going on.
yeah. It's almost it's a lot bigger mess probably than the golf swing and the human
Sure,
condition.
sure. Erik, I also wanted to touch on too. I saw that you have, speaking of some of like the myths and some of the cliches in golf.
Yeah.
I saw you have your women's golf clinic, and you do a lot of work with that too.
Yeah.
What are some of the cliches about women? Because I've seen a ton of growth in women's golf. 5-6 years ago, I wasn't going on the course and every time seeing ladies out there playing. But I'm curious your perspective on that, how you see it's growing, and really, how women can utilize what's going on. Because just looking at your program, just so my lady CJ, we got an opportunity to play Winged Foot because of who she is in her job, and that's really helped her get a promotion and all that. So I wanted to touch on that because I know that's huge for a lot of ladies out there.
Oh, it's massive. I mean, the stats just show for, like, I can't I was looking at one the other day with my wife, how much business they lose out on just not being able to talk about golf is huge for them. But I think early on I formed this thing of, I got so sick and tired of hearing guys saying comments of, well, okay, I'll tell you this. I was getting a lesson the other day and I heard this. I was walking off the range and I hear these two guys show up there. I mean, they're in jeans and stuff. And I mean, these guys are just hacks, like total, like just looking at them. And I know, well, I actually know they're total hacks, but I hear one of them go to comment to the other. He goes, well, thank God it's not ladies' day today. And he's saying, it's not slow, Well, I mean, first off, women are proved to be quicker than men. I mean, they did this massive study. Women do play quicker than men. And it's just like, I've had so many examples. Like I took 3 ladies on a playing lesson not long ago, and the starter goes, we're really busy today to me. This is what he said to me. I go, oh, that's great. And I just stare at him. And he's like, well, what do you think? He's like talking like that to me. I go, what do you think? What do you mean? I'm starting to get pissed. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He goes, well, you have these. I go, I have what? I started talking louder so they could hear. I go, and I said, do you not want them to play today? Is that what you're trying to say? He goes, no, sir. You have fun. You have fun. You guys have a great time. Because I get irate about it because this guy's like 80 years old. He's a starter that does like once a week or something. I'm like, why are you even saying that? It drives me absolutely berserk. And that's why ladies, a lot of them hate playing. It's because of assholes like that and assholes like these guys who are like, oh, it's not ladies' day. Plus, they don't leave them. Guys won't leave them alone on the range with their tits. I mean, just stuff like that drives me nuts. So getting to your question of ladies with this is, I feel like there's a lot of ladies clinics and a lot of things out there that talk about you have to get better to go and play. Like, okay, ladies, come here. We're going to be this whole group and we're going to have women's power and we're going to get better at golf so we feel comfortable to go play. You're not going to get it because you're not going to feel comfortable around the men, to go play it. And where's all your women then when you go play with 3 men? Oops, they're gone. Your women power is over, so it's like, I tell them anybody can go play any day you want. I don't care, because if you can go watch not tournaments, like events when they round the course, a guy who plays once every 4 years shows up missing the ball. Why can't a woman go do that?
Mm-hmm.
And she can. So I teach them, my basic principles that I teach them are, if you're playing with a group, it's a par 5, figure out how many strokes you want to take on the hole. If it's 6, take 6. I don't care if you want to putt 2 of them and you want to chip 2. And I teach them when they can effectively do it within the rules of, not within the rules, within how people are interacting on the course. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't chip twice and like people are waiting on you, but if you want to figure out how you can chip and then chip again up here and it's fine, people will appreciate how you're doing it. Like, oh, you understand when it's okay to do that and you pick your ball up. So that's cool. So I teach them, first off, number of strokes is the number one thing. You're allowed to take as many as you want. I mean, don't take 14, take 6. If it's par 5, take 4 in the next hole if you want. Don't tee off if you don't want to. Go drop it off if the next guy or at the furthest ball that you see, drop it. And the other thing I dig into these girls is that nobody gives a shit what you're doing as long as you're doing okay. I mean, with those things, it's like, how many times do you play golf? These women are so worried that people are watching them, worrying what they do. I'm like, God, guys and women, they're so involved in their own game. They have no clue what you're doing unless you're walking over their line or doing stuff like that. But otherwise, they're so self-absorbed with whatever they're doing. And women don't think that, because women in general, they're not thinkers like we are as men. Like, they are more compassionate. They may think if you duff the ball, like, oh man, I'm so sorry. And like, no, don't tell them that. Just move forward. Go for your next shot. You know what I mean? You don't have to tell them you're sorry and hope things go better the next time. It's like, so just give them the confidence like that to go play and not feel like it is based on, we practice. I have them do things. I teach them to get better. But I don't want it to be based on they have to hit the ball a certain way, because they're not. If you base it on that, when are they going to feel ready?
Yeah.
There is a 30 handicap good enough? Is a 25 good enough? If you're playing with if your boss is a 4 and you're a 20, you're not going to feel good enough. So it's like, to me, it's I've always played with people, and as long as they play like that, I respect the hell out of them. As long as they don't step on your line and stuff like that, and that's what I teach them. So they're ready to. I feel like after my event, they're ready to go play golf that next day.
I feel like you hit that,
and they do it.
It's a perfect way to frame it, because how long would it take your average 20 handicap to get to a 4? We're not going through a 4 or 5 year process.
Yeah, exactly.
Just being able to get out to the course, enjoy the experience of it.
Yeah.
Not in a USGA event here. Just moving along, being able to talk golf, like you said.
Yeah, and that's huge, being able to talk golf. And I told them to, watch some golf tournaments on TV, so maybe you hear some wordage and verbiage and get to know some stuff like that. And I give them a list of verbiage so they can look at it and understand it a little more. And I try to use it around them. But it's they come to me and they'll call me back and tell me how shocked they are, how everybody was so proud of them afterwards, how they handled it. They're like, wow, that was awesome how you just knew what to do out there. How did you know that? And stuff like that, because, a lot of them are, terrible. They miss the ball. And I go, just, if you miss it, stand over and just laugh at it, just go, crack up and laugh at yourself, and maybe they'll start laughing with you or something, and I go, if the guy if you get in your cart and the guy starts giving you a tip, go, oh, thanks, I appreciate it. I already have a coach. We're working on stuff. Because you don't want to sit there and get badgered the whole round either by somebody who's going to tell you. So I go, yeah, just cut them off immediately and say, I have a coach. We just started working together. So thank you very much for your help. And then he'll shut up.
That's excellent, dude. I got to say, because you hit a lot of I'm sure you've worked with plenty of ladies there. You're catching all of the angles there, because that's true. You're on the range and they want to give you take the club more inside. I can't even begin to describe for all the ladies the world that opens up. That's not the road to go down.
It isn't. It's just, I had a lesson the other day with a lady, and I left, and she was there, and a guy walked up to her. He goes, "That's great. You take a lesson now. You need to hit hundreds of balls a day now to ingrain what he just told you." And I saw her a week after after it, and she didn't know really. And even though I told her she didn't do it, they don't remember everything you say. Mm-hmm. So she had been hitting a bunch of balls and she was doing terrible, way worse. And I go, wow, so somebody told you that, really? Oh, that's just awful. I go, next time ask them what their handicap is.
Yeah.
And ask them what their handicap was 20 years ago, and they'll tell you it's either worse or the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a 15 handicap 20 years ago, and then now I'm 12.
Right. So it's obviously not working for you. So
I always like to relate it like the blind leading the blind. It's I try and find people who are achieving the result that I wish to have. And it's not. I can appreciate in the beginning where you could think that I need to hit the ball a certain way, but a lot of these ladies are just, they're going to their corporate outing. They want to just be able to chat golf with everybody in the office. That's the 101. That's really all you need to, and then
that's all you need.
Just being able to complete a round of golf, pick up when you need to pick up. There's no problems with that at all. Nope. Just being out there, huge. And everybody respects the person for doing it afterwards.
they don't care if they picked up half the time. So it's like, they're like, oh, that's cool. They knew to do it. And, so it's just, it's good. It feels good teaching them how to do it, and they feel good about it, getting out to do it. And, I've talked to them, a lot of them before that first time they'll call me because they're still a little nervous about it, not doing it. So, I've even asked if they had room in their group, and I've gone out with some, like if I had a free time just to have fun, I'd go do it with them. So, but it's just give them confidence. And after one time of doing it, they have it, because they're always shocked at how well it worked out. So it's fun. Yeah, I like it.
And here's a quick word from our sponsors over at Perfect Swing. If you guys haven't already downloaded the app, it's available for Apple and Android users, and it is free to play. So check out Perfect Swing.